How's it going, everybody? This is Chef, New Zealand Murder History Podcast. I'm coming to you live from Greymouth, South Beach. I've got a pretty cool show for you today. And when I say cool, it's not cool at all. It's awful. This woman got killed. Actually, she wasn't really a woman. She was a schoolgirl. She was third form. She went to Hutt Valley High in Wellington, and her name was Karla Cardno. Now, this case was massive at the time. I don't personally remember it. It was 1989. I was a toddler. But, yeah, it was a really big case across New Zealand. There was a big search going on. It took them weeks to find her. When they found her, she was dead, unfortunately. She got stranger danger abducted. And that's really rare in New Zealand, in Wellington. Yeah. It's not really something that typically happens, although occasionally it does. This podcast is not suitable for children at all. Anyone who's, suffering psychological or just maybe not having the best day, anyone suffering from PTSD, don't watch it. Just click off now. It's not worth it. I'm not going to do a lot of these child abuse cases because, to be honest, I find them really disturbing to research. But anyway, this podcast is not intended to cause offence to the victim or her family, Karla Cardno, or anybody in this case. It's just for educational purposes. I put this show together from a few sources online, and I hope you enjoy it. Alright, I'll set this camera up. Yeah, that's better. Angle there. Yeah, that'll do it. Alright, let's kick it. It was May 26, 1989, and Karla Cardno was a Lower Hutt schoolgirl. She got abducted riding her bike in Taita, Lower Hutt. She was taken to a Taita house, raped and tortured for 22, some websites say 23 hours. These stranger danger cases are rare but not unheard of. The 13-year-old's family were out searching high and low for Karla. She was last seen buying a 1.5 litre bottle of Fanta and 3 jelly tip ice creams for her family. She wanted the newspaper, but the Foursquare had sold out. Paul Daly was and still is a sketchy pedophile. It was Paul Daly who done this twisted sex crime murder. 3 weeks after his wife and kids left him. He was a martial arts expert, although that has nothing to do with the story. His wife was right to leave him. This guy is not marriage material. And now the sexual deviant has the house all to himself. Police say he saw Karla riding her bike and hurriedly put a plan together. After 13-year-old Karla Cardno had been dragged kicking and screaming through 10 levels of hell in Paul Daly's house, he ties her hands together and puts her in the boot of his car, driving out to the Pencarrow coast, just further out past Eastbourne. He bashes her head with a chunk of wood, possibly driftwood, and then buries her alive in the sand. And that's why nobody in Wellington goes out to the Pencarrow coast. Seriously though, anyone watching my show and lives in Wellington, have you ever been out to the Pencarrow coast? Well, now you know why. The closest I have ever gone was on walking tracks on the hills above Eastbourne, looking down on the Pencarrow coast. But I never knew why people didn't go there, and now I do. There's actually heaps of bizarre facts in the background of this case, which I'll get into them soon, but first, let's discuss Paul Daly. Paul Daly was a Maori fella. I'm not actually 100% sure on that, but he looks like a Maori fella to me, and I'm fairly certain he is. This bloke's car was seen a few times around the Pencarrow coast, being driven by someone fitting Daly's description. It looks like he may have been revisiting the crime scene to get some sick kicks. Yeah, he'd be into that, alright. He was a suspect early on in the case. After a 6-week search involving the police helicopters and the New Zealand Army, Paul Daly would confess and take the cops to Karla Cardno's body and get done for this murder. Going on to say that he really enjoyed what he did that day. Paul Daly was denied parole again last year. He's been down for over 30 years now. I mean, I try to see the good in people, but I'm not really sure this one's ever going to be rehabilitated. I mean, I often criticise the New Zealand criminal justice system, but this case the parole board is doing good work. I mean, yeah, anyway, he's due for another hearing in April 2022. Okay, enough about this awful weirdo. Let's discuss Karla Cardno's stepdad and her real dad. Her stepdad, the bloke who raised her, is awesome. His name's Mark Middleton. He left England with his family when he was 4 years old, and he's been here ever since. As soon as he heard Karla was missing, he drove straight down from northwest Manawatu to join the search for Karla, and get this, he was knocking door to door trying to find Karla Cardno, and he was down the road from Paul Daly's House of Horrors when the cops rocked up and told him that what he was doing was illegal and he had to stop. Then later on down the track, when Paul Daly was in court, Mark Middleton said he was going to kill him if he ever gets out. He got a suspended sentence for threatening to kill. Immigration in New Zealand was actually going to deport Mark Middleton a few years ago, but then in April 2018 they decided he could stay. Which I think is great, because to be honest, New Zealand needs blokes like this. A guy who just, jumps up and starts sorting it out right away. I mean, he tried to find Karla. Okay, he was unsuccessful, but he did his best. Anyway, now we're going to talk about Karla Cardno's real dad, who's real sketchy. Gary John Duffin and his sketchy wife Sharon Lee Hills were running a super not the one, I want to say bordello, but, well, do they even have a word for a child sex abuse bordello? I mean, I don't even know what that word is, but okay. Anyway, in Mount Victoria in 1991, Gary and his wife Sharon drugged and raped an underage escort who worked for them. I'm not sure exactly what role his wife played. I've read some sources that said that she was pinning the girl down while her husband sexually assaulted her. I don't know. It's hard to know, but yeah, whatever it was bad enough to get her convicted as well. I'm going to source reference this article I'm reading for this part, because this is some pretty crazy stuff these people did, so I don't just want to sound like I'm making it up. So anyway, New Zealand Herald, nzherald.co.nz, the 20th of August 2014, Karla Cardno's child-abusing dad, I want to stay in jail. That was a quote from him. That was to, he wants to do a child sex offender program. Well, anyway, let's just recap a minute. Somebody pinch me, because this must be some kind of bizarre dream I'm having. I mean, there's a bordello in Mount Victoria, inner city Wellington, and it's selling underage schoolgirl ass? What the hell? WTF clients are going to this place. And it's run by the dad of the victim of one of the worst child abuse cases in New Zealand history, and his sketchy date rape wife, and they're into sex crimes on their own employees. I mean, how long was this going on for? I have so much more questions than answers at the moment. Man, WTF, wow, okay. And they got Greg King to represent them in court. Yeah, that'd be right. He doesn't manage to get them off the hook, though. I actually really dislike Greg King, although I never met the man. I hate what he did for a living and what he represents. I wonder how many deviant sex criminals and murderers he's helped get away with it. I'm talking about the bloke who slut-shamed Sophie Elliott. I don't know if you guys followed that case or not. It was horrific. But yeah, that fella. Because, you know, sluts are bad. The fact this defense can even work is a reflection of a society that is lacking in insight and moral compass. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, New Zealand. We're not the progressive, happy family we like to think we are, and talk we are. It's just, it doesn't quite add up like that if you look at the facts. Criminals with money often get away with it because they have good legal representation, while broke Maori boys go down for a handful of tinnies, or some cash-strapped Pākehā who lost his temper and punched someone for being an idiot. Now I'm getting way off topic. Alright, back to Gary and Sharon, the underage pimping whack ones. Gary got 8 years and Sharon got 6 years. I've read another article that suggests there may be more victims of this sicko duo. But yeah, I just wrote this podcast to make people think and talk, and, you know, if the time comes, hopefully act to prevent child abuse. But like I said, I'm not going to keep doing these child abuse cases on my show. I might do one for Nia Glassy, and maybe one or two more, and then call it a day. I might do one on that idiot that started Gloriavale, Hopeful Christian. But yeah, I think I'll have to leave it at that. The whole point of New Zealand Murder History Podcast is to make you think. Sharon and Gary got another 1+ year for supplying underage girls with cannabis. I mean, what awful luck Karla Cardno was having in her short life here on planet Earth. I mean, she actually gets raised by this nice guy, despite being born to a real dad who was an actual monster. And then she gets stranger danger abducted riding her bike on Churton Drive Taita, and killed in the worst way ever, buried alive after 23 hours at the hands of Paul Daly. I mean, that's some of the worst luck I've ever heard. And to make matters more unlucky, some articles I have read say that Paul Daly was actively hunting Karla through the streets of Taita. I read a witness statement that she came into a shop looking highly distressed, and not the Foursquare where she bought the Fanta 1.5 and the 3 jelly tips. This is just after that. The bystander effect is so disturbing. I mean, why did nobody ask her if she needed help when she clearly did? After Paul Daly got convicted of Karla's murder, Karla's dad said he forgives Paul Daly. Not the stepdad who was looking for her, the other dad, the sketchy one. One pedophile forgives another pedophile. We have way too many pedophiles in New Zealand. For once, I'm actually lost for words. Yeah, Karla Cardno and Paul Daly were both regulars at that Foursquare, and the bloke who served Karla, Indian fella, he's still messed up about it all to this day, I think, from reading just some stuff he wrote, and I'm not sure if he still works at that place or not. Just read some stuff online that he wrote. Obviously made him very sad, you know. He really liked the smiling little girl, his customer, Karla Cardno. And as far as he knew, he liked Paul Daly. He never had a bad feeling about the guy. The guy didn't look like a monster. But yeah, that's what happened. Karla Cardno was third form at Hutt Valley High. And that's why people in Wellington don't go out to the Pencarrow coast. Cool, well that's it everybody. That's my show. Thanks for watching. And have a good day.